Hey everybody, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are talking about Facebook because Facebook is changing its name to Meta, but the real question is why. Now everybody's reporting on this, but I'm cribbing from the AP that I thought had a really good write-up, and here's what's going on. Facebook, as I mentioned, is changing its name to Meta Platforms Incorporated, or Meta for short, and this apparently reflects, according to Mark Zuckerberg, their commitment to developing the new surround yourself technology known as the metaverse. But the actual Facebook platform right now, the social network, will still be called Facebook. Skeptics obviously immediately started accusing the company today of trying to change the subject from the Facebook papers. Obviously, those are all the leaked documents that just show all of the damaging problems that Facebook has done to society as well as itself. And essentially, obviously, I think this is the largest crisis that Facebook has had to have in terms of their public relations. Now, the AP interviewed marketing consultant Laura Rees, and she likened this move to BP rebranding itself to Beyond Petroleum as opposed to the original British Petroleum to escape criticism that essentially they were harming the environment. That came shortly after, if I recall, the massive spill in the Gulf of Mexico that obviously just had environmentalists completely up in arms, and rightfully so. And I quote Ms. Rees, Facebook is the world's social media platform, and they are being accused of creating something that is harmful to people in society. They can't walk away from the social network with a new corporate name and talk of a future metaverse. And I think that is a really good point in the sense that if this is the announcement to say, hey, we're focusing on this, don't worry about Facebook, don't worry about Facebook, focus on the metaverse, don't worry about Facebook, ignore Facebook, it's not going to work. We are embedded in Facebook in a way that I don't think we are with many other apps in our lives. Now, Facebook, the app, where obviously everybody posts things and uses it, they're not changing their name. Instagram is not changing its name. WhatsApp and Messenger are not changing their name. The corporate structure also isn't going to change either, but on December 1st, its stock will start trading under a new ticker symbol, MVRS. Now, the metaverse is sort of kind of like the internet brought to life, just rendered in 3D. Zuckerberg has described it as a virtual environment that you can go inside of instead of just looking at a screen. People can meet, work, play using virtual reality headsets, augmented reality glasses, smartphone apps, and other devices and all of that. It will also incorporate other aspects of online life, such as shopping and social media, and there you go. Now, the announcement obviously comes amid heightened legislative and regulatory scrutiny of Facebook in many parts because of the Facebook paper. Or rather, Facebook papers. A corporate rebranding isn't really going to solve those kinds of problems, and that's a huge problem for Zuckerberg and Facebook, and quite frankly, I'm totally fine with that. Now, Mark Zuckerberg, for his part, has largely dismissed the furor triggered by the Facebook papers, labeling it unfair. Now, some of Facebook's biggest critics, myself included, seem very unimpressed by the name change. So, for example, the Real Facebook Oversight Board, a watchdog group focusing on the company, announced that they are going to basically keep their name. Quote, changing their name doesn't change reality. Facebook is destroying our democracy and is the world's leading peddler of disinformation and hate. Their meaningless name change should not distract from the investigation, regulation, and real independent oversight needed to hold Facebook accountable. In explaining the rebrand, Zuckerberg said that the name Facebook doesn't encompass everything the company does anymore. In addition to its social network that now includes Instagram, Messenger, its Quest VR headset, and its Horizon VR platform, and more. And quite frankly, I think Mark Zuckerberg is right in that sense. Facebook has branched out into many different tentacles in the same way that Google founders spun up Alphabet to have many different companies under the Alphabet umbrella essentially do different things, in the same way that Google is different than, I believe they own Boston Robotics and some other companies as well. So that is I think where Mark Zuckerberg is going with this, but it comes at a time when they are basically under fire for a lot of different things. And so I think changing the name was probably a logical thing that they were going to do, ahead of time, obviously not changing Facebook as Facebook because everybody knows Facebook is Facebook. That would just be stupid for them to do, but they have this huge push into the metaverse. They are basically hiring, I think it's something like 10,000 employees and pouring $10 billion into actually developing this. And to the whistleblower, Frances Haugen's point was, imagine what they could have done with those 10,000 employees on the security and privacy side to combat things like misinformation, disinformation, and more. And now they're just ignoring that and pouring it into this. Obviously, Facebook, with their money, should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Basically, they would have no problem hiring another 10,000 security personnel to look at information, disinformation, all of that, to really put a dent into it. But that ship has sailed, and Mark Zuckerberg continuously shows that he prioritizes profits over the well-being of humanity and society itself. This is a huge, huge problem. And I agree. I don't think that changing the name here is going to deflect from this when, quite frankly, Facebook stands on its own in the same way that when you think Instagram, you're not literally thinking like, well, Instagram is owned by Facebook. You're thinking of the platform where you can basically share very, very heavily doctored pictures of yourself and give everybody depression. So this is a huge, huge thing that I think Zuckerberg is trying to deflect from all of these scandals. That's the huge thing I'm talking about here. And we'll see what goes with the metaverse. But quite frankly, is he going to get the adoption that he thinks he's going to get? Probably. Actually, I think there are going to be a lot of people that will stay with Facebook and not move to the metaverse, but he is targeting the younger generations. And internally in the last couple of weeks, we've learned that they are targeting younger people, essentially, that would want to wear VR sets, augmented reality, all these kinds of things, and kind of interact in that way. I think that is the next evolution of where the internet is going. The problem that we have is that evolution doesn't come with an economic model change, meaning you're going to be data mined in exchange for free things in the metaverse, or maybe pay a little bit and still be data mined. And that obviously is going to be a huge profit center for Mark Zuckerberg, but it's absolutely horrible for your privacy, not to mention, God forbid, we have Nazis marching through the universe or through the metaverse, in this. What are they going to do about that? If we have all these whole things, are we going to let people with sheets walk around? These are things that really need to be contended with. And the reason why I say that, and it's kind of incredulous, you're thinking, well, that would never happen. It's actually happening on Facebook right now. We just don't have 3D avatars of ourselves that I don't know, look like whatever we want to look like. And the last thing we need is a whole bunch of people looking like Adolf Hitler in the metaverse. So I think this is going to be a real challenge for Zuckerberg, not to mention the fact he simply isn't trusted anymore. People trust the Google, CEOs or founders way more than they trust Mark Zuckerberg, and they're doing the exact same thing. It's because Mark Zuckerberg has publicly and consistently shown himself to be after profit above everything else. He has not had a low profile in that vein, and I think that has been to his detriment. And quite frankly, I'm glad, because, sunlight is the best sanitation that we have for people like that. So there you go. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this, but Meta is now what Facebook's going to call themselves. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter, where it's still going to be called Facebook. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please stay private. Thanks, everyone.